So Akko just released this new mechanical keyboard, the ACR75 Pro, which is not a DIY kit but a fully assembled keyboard you can buy on the Akko website. And so when it was first announced, I bought it immediately because the value is insane. So it comes at a price of $119.99 US. And so I'll explain why it has so much value to it. So if you look at the picture here, you can see that they provide you with the Akko ASA profile black on white keycaps. And these are actually really nice keycaps. If you go look at their website, the keycaps are priced at $39.99 US, or basically $40. Yeah, so you get about 195 keycaps for a price of $40. So if you reduce that from the cost of the keyboard, so 120 minus by 40, you'll get $80, right? And then you're also getting the crystal switches for the entire board, which should be somewhere around $20, give or take, right? About $20, because there's 75 switches in the keyboard. So subtract another 20, and now for the entire keyboard is valued at $60. And now imagine this, you're getting a gasket mount with silicone dampening on the gaskets, the plate silicone sheet, the pour-on plate foam, silicone switch pads, and the EVA case foam on the bottom. So the value is insane for $120. Now, the only question is, why would you buy this instead of the Alice layout? So Akko just also released the Alice version of the ACR, right? So version because it's a new format that they never seen before, right? But from what I've seen, a lot of people have difficulty typing in the Alice format. So for me, I prefer to stick with the 75% layout. Personally, I think that the 75% layout without the knob is the best layout for me. So compared to things like the Mod 007, where you get the knob, how often do you actually use the knob on your keyboard? For me, I don't use the knob that often at all. So this keyboard is better suited for me. And also, you might be wondering, why don't I just buy the Mod 007? Because it has an aluminum case, right? Well, the ACR is made out of acrylic, right? And it has a lot of RGB in it. If you buy the Mod 007, it's made of aluminum, and light cannot shine through the aluminum. So if you're someone who prefers to have a little bit of light show in your room, then I recommend you to buy the ACR. And also the material, acrylic. Acrylic is a lot more softer than aluminum case of the Mod 007. And so in my opinion, right, I'm not exactly sure about this, but acrylic cases should make a softer, more thockier sound, right? I used to have the Mod 001 and it was a aluminum case. It had a lot of issues about sound because it would have that metallic noise. So in this $120, you get a coiled cable, which is pretty nice. It's pretty standard. You get a switch puller. You get an Allen key to screw the screws behind the case. You also get 2 stands, but you have to install that by yourself. And the most important part is that you get a extra polycarbonate plate and also a few extra silicone jackets for you to put in case you lose some. So this is really important, right? An extra polycarbonate plate. So as you heard from the beginning, the aluminum plate is very clacky and high pitch. But when you switch to the polycarbonate plate, it becomes super thocky. And now the crystal switch is not exactly something to write home about, right? It's just a typical linear switch. But the thing is that it has a clear housing for a even brighter RGB lighting. So it's really bright. And in stock form, the crystal switches are very clacky and high pitch. But when you loop them, they sound a lot better. So of course it comes with little to no loop in the switches at all. So I just suggest that you open the switches and loop the housing, the stem, and then use Krytox super oil to loop the springs and so forth, right? So lubing process takes about 6 to 8 hours depending on how fast you are. So I suggest you watch your favorite show while you loop your switches. And also the stabilizers, they have this kind of dampening inside them, but to help reduce the rattle inside, but it's not very useful and it still rattles. Of course, the ACR Pro supports screw-in stabilizers, so if you have some screw-in stabilizers laying around, I suggest that you use those instead. So even though they have these new noise dampening function, it's still plate mount, and it's not exactly the best stabilizers. It's a huge improvement, yes. So if you don't have any other stabilizers, then you can probably fine-tune it. Okay, so here's the sound test after I changed the plate to polycarbonate and after I loop the switches and give it 2 layers of tape mod. Also in terms of pricing, the Mod 007 is a lot more expensive than the ACR Pro. Of course, you're paying for the price of the aluminum case, right? So now what I'm doing here is I'm going to take out the keycaps, take out the switches, and then I'm going to disassemble the entire keyboard so that I can change the plate from aluminum to polycarbonate. And then after that, I'm going to reassemble the entire keyboard and put in the lube crystal switches inside. It took me about 6 hours to loop the entire switches. So enjoy the rest of the video and the sound test at the end.